Okay, so this is from the big ideas, the question. So I'm going to do not only the fraction. Well, maybe, well, we'll see. So I don't know the number of the questions, but I know these were the questions. So the first one, 3 1/3 times -2 7/10. Well, oops, -2 7/10. Well, it's a negative times a negative, first of all. So the answer is positive, right? And now, obviously, you have to change this to an improper fraction. Don't ever multiply this in this format. So 3 times 3 is 10, 9, plus 1 is 9. So this is, wow, 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. So that's 10 over 3, negative, times 10 times 2 is 20, plus 7 is 27, and over 10. Like I said, they're both negatives. Now we can do what we worked in class, and then this is called simplify before multiplying. 10 divided by 10, these two multiply to just 1 and 1. 3 and 27 can be simplified. Divide both of them by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 27 by 3 is 9. And we're left with a whole lot of 1s and one little 9. 1 times 9 is 9. At the bottom, 1 times 1 is 1. Negative times a negative is a negative. It's a positive. And that just becomes a 9. Next one, 0.4 times 0, I should have written the other one on top, 0.03. 2 decimal places over here, 1 decimal place over here for a total of 3. So 4 times 3 is 12, and that's all you need to multiply. There's nothing else that needs to be done. And we need 3 decimal places, so 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to add a 0, and my answer is positive, negative, negative 0.0. 1, 2. I need a couple of seconds because my battery's dying. Sorry. Let me move on to a third. No, I can't. I got a new battery. Sorry, guys. Fast forward. It's a good time to fast forward. Here we go. So the next question is, it's also decimal. Okay, I'm not going to multiply it. You guys can do the multiplication, the decimal ones, but the fraction ones, I'll write it. So the next one is 5 over 6 times 4.5 times 2 1/5, and they're both negatives. So my answer is going to be, there's 2 negative numbers being multiplied, right? So, I mean, we know that if the total negative numbers being multiplied is even, the answer is, assuming, well, knowing that the other one is positive, so these two is going to be positive times a positive, which is 6. The answer is going to be a positive. So, again, don't please change them to improper fractions. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9, over 2, negative. Times 5 times 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11, over 5, but negative. Let's see if I can simplify anything. This 5 and this 5. I can simplify the 9 and the 6, divide both by 3. That's going to give me a 3, and this is going to give me a 2. So again, remember, we're simplifying from top and bottom, one from the numerator with any one in the denominator, as long as, okay, so we can't simplify numerator to numerator. So on the top, I got 3 over 2, sorry, 3. And at the bottom, 2, sorry. At the bottom, I have 2 times 2 times 1, which is 4. So final answer, 3/4. Right? Yeah, I think so. 1 2/3 to the third power. Okay, so I thank you. Again, I rather deal with this. So you can, I mean, that literally means this. Right? Times -1 2/3 times -1 2/3, right? Problem is, you want to change it to an improper fraction. So 3 times and plus 3 times 1 is 3 plus 2. So this is the same thing as 5/3, which is a little bit better. Times 5/3 times -5/3, right? Much easier to multiply. So at the bottom, well, there's nothing to simplify, so it's going to be a negative answer. And 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. 5 times 5 is 25. Times another 5 is 125. So I don't know how Bigideas. So if you can write your answer like that, or something. How many times can 127 go inside? inside of 25. 125, and it's 4 times, so it's 108. So 4, 117, sorry, 17 over 27 looks like it's the answer if I did this correctly as a mixed number. Okay, 27 goes into 125, 4 times, 17 left over 27. Looks correct. 6, you have a, so think about a gasoline tank, right? So 0, so if you fill it all the way to the top full of gasoline, there's 14 and a half gallons. A lot of ways you can do this. So this is halfway marker, this is the 1/4, I'm going to write 0, 1/4, this is half a tank, and this is 3/4. So I guess the long way, you could divide 14.5 divided by 4, right? You can go 14 and a half divided by 4, or you can just use decimals and then, or 14.5 divided by 4, and then you know what each quarter is, so you would know how much, if it's filled to just 1/4, if it's filled to half, if it's filled to a third, you would know how much gas. So right now the question says it's filled 3/4. Right, there's this much gas inside. Oh, it's 3/4. So what's 3/4 of 14 and a half gallons? So again, you could have done this way, where you divide by 4 and you find out what each quarter is, and then multiply by 3. Or what is? So the question is, what is 3/4, right? Of 14.5, which I'm going to write like this. Okay, since we're dealing with fraction, it really doesn't matter. So this 3/4 of 14 and a half. Of, by the way, implies or means multiplication. So this becomes 3/4 times 14 and a half. Well, we're not going to multiply that as it is. So 3/4, 14 and a half is written 2 times 14 is 28 plus 1, 29 over 1. Can we simplify anything? No. So 4 times 1 at the bottom is 4. 3 times 29 is, I have no idea, 87. So we want to, it says write it as a mixed number, so 87 divided by 4, right? It's 2. There's something, did I do something wrong? hang on. Did I do something wrong? 3/4 of 14 and a half. Hang on, please. What did I do? 28, 29. Oh, for 2. Sorry, I forgot the 2 here. Oh, all right. That's what's killing me. So 4 times 2 at the bottom is 8. Now I can multiply. I can divide 87 divided by 8. 8, 0. Bring the 7 down. Let's continue a little bit more. Add a 0. It goes into 78 times, which is 64. You got 6 left over, bring another 0. 8 goes into 67 times, which is 56. Right? And there's 4 left over, and bring another 0 down. 8 goes into 45 times. So 3/4 tank would be this level, 10.875. So how much gas is in the car? Well, it says write it as a mixed number. Oh, I'm sorry. So 8 goes into 87 8 times, 7 left over 8. So sorry, I don't know why I changed it to decimal. So this is your final answer. Okay. Using properties, find the, you don't have to worry about the using properties. What property do you think they want to do the distributed property? I hope not, because then that would not that wouldn't be too helpful. So I'm not too sure what they mean use the property, but we can choose to use a community property, right? This is multiplication, so we can switch things around. Negative 2/3, you know what, just because it's asking for some property, let's change this around. It's not a big deal. Okay, so in this time around, I'm using, right, associative property and multiplying these two. So let's just, it's a negative times a negative times a negative, which gives me a negative. Can I simplify anything? Yeah, I can. So this 2 and a 4 divided by 2 is 1, divided by 2 is 2. 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. Can I simplify anything else? No, sir. It's negative 3 times 5 is 15, and at the bottom 2 times 7, 1 times 2 is 14, 1 negative and 1 14. Find the product, write your answer as a decimal. Ugh, yuck. Really? When would they say that? So if this is what the question is about, I'm not too sure what you're talking about properties. Give me a second here. Okay, so again, a good time to pause the video. Okay, I see. So community property, associated property. So it doesn't really matter which property you use, but I don't know why they want this as a decimal. So we have negative 4.5 times 8 over 8.61 times negative 2 over 9. And they don't want us, and they want us to write your answer as a decimal. Yikes. You know what I'm actually going to do? I'm going to write it as a decimal much later. Right now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to change this everything to a fraction. So 4.5 as a fraction is, well, the 5 is in the 10th place. So that becomes a 10. So the fraction is going to be out of 10, and we put 45 on top, and negative. And if you change that to an improper mixed number, 10 goes into 45 4 times, and you have one left over, right? Half left over. So that's the same thing as 4.5, right? So we know it's correct. So times 8.61. Again, I'm going to write that as a fraction. So 8.61 is over 100, and 861 on top. And then times negative 2 over 9. So that's what I probably would have done if I don't have a calculator. Now, this is going to allow me to do this. So negative times a positive times a negative is going to be a positive answer. That 9 over here, that 45 is going to go away. 9 divided by 9 is 1. 45 divided by 9 is 5. I can get rid of this 10 over here. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 10 divided by 5 is 2. And then this 2 and this 2 will just be 1 at the end. So if you look at all this that I have left over, I have nothing except 861 over 100, which if we write that back as a decimal, it's just 861. Okay, it's a neat question. I like it. 9. So back to the substitution. So 1/3 plus x times z. So 1/3 plus, what's x? Negative 2. Put it in parentheses. Times, what's z? Negative 1/5. Okay. So that's it. Order of operation, let's multiply these two. So it's 1/3. It's going to be plus, and that's also going to be positive, right? So we multiply, let's put this 2 over 1. So it's just going to be 2 times 1 is 2. And 1 times 5 is 5. So it's 2/5. Now we have to find a common denominator, which is 15. 5 times 5 times 3 times 3, and we get 8 over 50. Next one is half of z. How much is z? Negative 1/5, so put in parentheses, minus 2/3 of y, which is 3. Okay, multiply that of 5. Positive times a negative is a negative, but half times 1/5. Numerator was numerator, denominator was denominator. I get 10. Minus 2/3 times 3, or 2/3 of 3. We can simplify if we want. This, let me put this over 1 for a second. This 3 and this 3, right, just become 1 and 1, and then this whole thing just becomes 2. So now I have negative 1/10 minus 2. I just wrote that whole thing again. So if you want to change it to an addition, it becomes this. So negative 1/10 plus negative 2. So imagine, think about what this is. Let me just make this a little easier. Here's 0. Here's u at negative 2. Doesn't matter which one you start with, right? Here u at negative 2. We're going to add negative 1/10. Are we adding value to you, or are we decreasing your value? Well, we're adding a negative number here, so that means we're going to go just a little bit to the left. So I add this much debt to you. So if you're already a debt at negative 2, plus that 1/10, you're now a debt at negative 1/10, or negative 2.1, however you want to think of it. Okay. And 11, write the expression, write your answer, or value. Decimal. Okay. Negative 4.2 plus 8.1 times negative 1.9. Yikes. All right, so we have to do these two first, right? So negative 4.2 takes a seat for now. Let's multiply that. It is a decimal, so 1 decimal place, 1 decimal place, so my answer has 2 decimal places, so that becomes 972, 81, 9315. With 2 decimal places, my answer is 15.39, pero negative. Right? So now I add those two values. I'm going further left on the number line, so I make sure to line up my decimals. I'm going to add 9591. Negative 19.59. And the 12 we want it in simplest form, okay? Negative 3 3/4, oops, times 5/6 minus 2 1/3. All right, multiplication comes first, so let's do that, but let's change it to a mixed improper fraction. So that's 12 plus 13 is 15 over 4 times 5/6 minus 2 1/3. You know what, I'm going to just change it, take advantage and change that to an improper fraction. 3 times 2 is 6, so 7 over 3. Let's still have to take care of these two first, right? So multiply, can we simplify anything? Let's see, 4 times 3 is 12, 15. So we can simplify this 15 and 6. Divide 6 by 3, we get 2. Divide 15 by 3, we get 5. Anything else? No. So it's negative 25, right? Because 5 times 5 is 25, and 4 times 2 is 8. And that's what we have. So we have negative 25 over 8 minus 7 over 3, which we're going to find a common denominator. Take a number that is common. 24 looks good. Times 3 times 3, which is 75, times 8 times 8, which is 56. So it's a negative minus, which is going to a positive, which is really 74 over 24. Change it to subtraction, becomes, that's what it is. So we're adding, again, debt on top of debt. It's a negative number plus a negative number. We go further to the left. So it's going to be a negative over 24, and we add the top and bottom. 75 plus 26, it's $1.25. Sorry, $1.26. It's going to be 126. Okay. So 126, we can change that to a improper fraction. So, sorry, mixed number. So 24 goes into 126 5 times. Does it? Yeah, which is 120. You have 6 left over 24. That's all negative, by the way. And then we can still simplify the 6 over 24, which is going to be negative 5 1/4, right? 6 over 24 is 1/4. That's what it looks like. All right. A little bit. Questions seem simple. They seem simple, but requiring a little bit more work than I thought. So here we go. Negative 2/3 to the second power minus 3/4 times 2 1/3 is 2 1/3, but I'm going to change that to an improper fraction. I get 6 7 over 3. Negative 2/3 to the second power. It's negative 2/3 times negative 2/3. So that's going to give me a positive. 2 times 2 is 4. This becomes 4 over 9. Minus, let's multiply these two. I can simplify this and this. It becomes 1 and 1 because I divide top and bottom by 3. So I end up having 7 over, and 4 times 1 is 4. Well, common denominator is 36. And 9 is times 4, so times 4 over here, which is 16, times 9 over here, times 9, which is 63. Let's change that to an addition if you like. It makes it easier. Minus 63, sorry, plus negative 63 over 36. That's what, right, we're changing it to an addition problem. So it's going to be a negative because negative, the absolute value of 63 is definitely, negative 63 is definitely greater. So now it's 36, it's going to be negative. And what's the difference between 63 and 16? 7, 5 menos 4, 47. Write the fraction in simplest form, that is, or 1 and 11 over 36. Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. So I think that's it. Okay, you are assigned. All right, so there's a little check.